Games and Groceries presents the Tell Me Why Roundtable Discussion. With special guest, Andrew Orsie. Let's begin with Chapter 1.
Hi everybody, welcome to our very first Tell Me Why Roundtable discussion, where we're going to be going over Chapter 1 of Tell Me Why, developed by Don't Nod Entertainments, with our very good friend, special guest, Andrew Orsie.
Woohoo.
Say hi, Andrew.
Hello.
Andrew, it's his fourth time here, fourth time on the show.
Record breaking.
But technically, this isn't a Games and Groceries episode. So
But it's going on the Games and Groceries podcast page and YouTube page. So it is a Games and Groceries podcast.
rats. So you have been on the show 4 times.
I did it.
Legal
You can't
ramifications.
foil me with your loopholes. I'm getting on this show.
4 times, and it's coincidental. Like we were talking about,
Happens.
we were talking about like having you on the show, and then I just realized, like, wait, this is 4th time. You're the most appeared guest on Games or Groceries so far, which is
I'm so honored.
yeah, like how'd that happen? I don't know. You just keep going.
I just
on the
relate to a lot of conversation topics. I don't know.
Well, we're here.
are.
We wanted to organize this 3-episode arc all about Tell Me Why because we feel like this game will have important issues to go over. So a couple of things before we get started. One, spoiler alert ahead.
Spoilers.
Go watch a Let's Play, play it for yourself, whatever. It's full spoilers ahead going forward. Second thing, this is not a game review. We're not going to be going over the game mechanics. We're not going to be going over controls, even though the animations were fantastic. I thought this was like the
it
best.
may be part of the conversation, but it's not like we're not reviewing it.
Yeah, and
Right.
And 3, this is wholeheartedly just a roundtable discussion. I have my notes. We might go over. Andrew might have his thoughts. And I want this to be a roundtable discussion. We bring in our own perspectives here.
It's like book club for video games.
Well, that's why we brought on Andrew.
Strange. I've done something like that before.
Good game, great game. For those who love hate paper cups, but love button mashing. That was
There it is.
Dang. But yeah, so let's just get the conversation rolling. We don't really have a plan here, but so very first day, the game starts in March 1st, 2005 with at the time Ollie, which we'll get into, but that was young Tyler, which we'll be talking about a lot. But yeah, the game starts March 1st, 2005. Young Tyler is in a police station confessing to a murder of his mother, right? And then the game progresses into 2015, I believe, in the same month. No, it's October. October 2015. And what I liked about this is a contrasting life here. Now we get to see Tyler in a mental facility, but first we see Allison in her room.
Yeah.
So
I don't think it's a mental facility. I think it's like
what was it?
I think it was a juvie, basically.
It was
It was
juvie?
like a rehab. Like it's
Yeah.
it's like a juvie, but it's more like a rehab type place.
A camp.
Yeah, well, it's more like like troubled youth center.
Yeah, troubled youth.
Yeah.
But yeah, because we have those. We have Phil Haven, of course, over in Lancaster, and I've worked with people over there. And so let's get the ball rolling. Opening thoughts as the game progresses in the very first scene, as we get to see the 2 contrasting lives. Who would like to go first here?
I'll go.
Yeah, go ahead.
For me, the only thing to get the full thing of the game, like I wanted to look at everything, but there was a lot of things to look at in just their bedrooms. And I was like, that was like my one small complaint. I'm like, there's so much to look at, but I want to keep going in the game. And then I'm like, now I need to look through Tyler's room. Like, oh, can I just start?
Yeah.
But it's like, I want to start the game, but I also want to look at everything. I'm like, all right, there's too much.
Yeah. What did we all find when we looked through each room?
I found both goblins.
I looked at everything.
Yeah,
Everything?
same. I tried to look
I'm
at
really good in these kind of games at like figuring out what the thing is that's going to move you on in the story,
Mhm.
and I avoid it like
Yeah.
like it's the plague. I'm like, no, everything else.
Yeah. I love when they're like, I should get going. I'm like, not till I'm done.
Yeah, you're going to be here for 15 more minutes, Tyler. Settle down.
I guess what I'll ask for both of you, because I more observed your playthrough,
Yeah.
and I took the notes down. Did we find anything of significance in the rooms?
The goblins.
The goblins, yes.
Mhm.
And that was a setup that later on, again, spoilers ahead,
Yeah.
that each of them were their own little characters, the goblins.
Yeah.
And that's why.
Like their mom called them her little goblins, which I don't think is as endearing as it's supposed to sound.
Yeah. And I want to get into the mother perspective, because that
Definitely.
was incredibly interesting. What I liked about each room is that, like I said, it put a different perspective on each of their lives, right?
Mhm. Like where they are right now.
Well, they are right now, how happy they are, what they're thinking about. And I might be jumping ahead here, but I liked how within the first, I want to say 20 minutes, maybe the first 30 minutes of the game, we get to see exactly where they are in life in general.
Mm-hmm.
Because in the facility, in the camp, as Andrew likes to say it, Tyler gets his degree. You know, he's on his way to become a ranger. He's well off in life, whereas Allison is just, you know, completely not really off the rails, but she's just like,
She doesn't know what she wants. She doesn't know who she is, what she wants to do.
Yeah.
So she's kind of lost.
She's very much like me.
Yeah. It's just like lost in
Except like 10 years younger than me. So like, oops, I need to get it together.
I was about to say, how old is Allison in the game?
I think they're supposed to be 22.
Yeah,
I think they were 12. Because I think they're the same age I was at that time.
So they're 22.
Yeah.
And I was thinking the same thing. It's like, man, I don't have my life together either. Like, wait, I am almost 30. Oh no.
Yep.
But yeah, I thought that was very important to see each person's room. And even reading the letter from Tyler to his counselor, which, by the way, I read it wrong. I thought so the letter that he was going to leave his counselor before he left, I thought Tyler was a counselor, and I thought he was reading a letter that he received. I'm like, wait. And it like blew my mind for a second. Like, Tyler?
Wasn't he though? Because they talked about the last 3 years that he was there.
Well,
he became a mentor.
Yeah, he became a mentor, but they were saying counselor. So like so
it was
to
the
Aaron.
next tier up.
Yeah, the next tier up. So
like counselor is the professional that works there, whereas he mentored the younger kids.
I think as he grew up, he became a mentor, but the actual counselor person.
Yeah. Who was his mentor, I'm assuming.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, who was Aaron. I believe it was Aaron, right?
His name was Aaron.
Yep. Yeah. So yeah, he was a mentor. So he even moved up a lot.
They said he graduated high school from there. Like he got his high school degree from the facility, and then he stayed another 3 years as a mentor.
Yeah,
like he stayed around.
Which I want to put a pin in, because later on we get to meet a character. But I want to put a pin in that because what we see with Tyler in the room, in my opinion, is that he took responsibility. He, stepped up. He became a mentor. He looked at his own self. We see pamphlets in there and I liked how to become a healthy masculinity, right? The transgender's man's guide to healthy masculinity. He's taking steps to improve himself. And I want to put a pin in that because I want to bring something else up. But before,
well, it's also, I think that's an excellent way to introduce that. I mean, like, obviously I'm not a person who can speak from the trans experience itself, but I think that like trans representation in video games has been like little to none, a lot of bad.
I was about to say it's more
like a punchline, and even in media, even in just like media in general, like TV shows and movies, like recently we've gotten a little bit better, but a lot of like trans storylines end up being very focused on pain and the pain of people bullying you for it, and we do get some of that, some of his pain in this. But it's also good that our first impression of him is that he is a trans person who is focusing on his mental health
Yeah.
and like being able to take care of himself and finding ways to settle in himself, and like to put him at the forefront as a display of a character who is finding ways to do self-care very effectively is a great start.
Yeah, exactly. I absolutely love that. And I like what you said, that like even the representation in video games, I feel like it's more lore heavy. Like we find out through like little notes that we find within the game, like, oh, this character is actually trans, where it's not full on in the game like this one is. And yeah, like you said, self-help, self-care, you know, going forward. And a lot of people, even who aren't trans, don't take those steps, and it's really good that he's taking that moving forward. Before we go on to another note, do we want to is there anything else from these intro scenes that we want to talk about?
I don't think so. I did really like reading the letter from Allison to Tyler.
Yes.
It was just like interesting to see, because later you learn that they haven't really talked, or they haven't seen each other in 10 years. But she was very candid in her letter.
Yeah.
So I thought that was interesting that she still felt she could be that way with even though it's her brother, she hasn't seen him since they were 12.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Yeah.
I also liked Allison's room. Made me think I was going to like her like right off the bat, because she had like a telescope and some astronomy stuff, and I am super into astronomy, and like that's like just my thing.
Yeah.
But then shockingly, it actually took me a really long time to warm up to Allison.
She's getting like, she like goes on and off my nerves a little bit.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, calm down.
Yeah.
Like it's everything's fine. Like I actually really like Tyler's personality a little more than Allison's.
I latched onto Tyler right away.
Yeah,
I liked
same.
Tyler immediately.
Same.
Yeah.
I just, for Allison, it was like, I like her, but at the same time, like, she's just so dead set. Like, this is her plan and this is what we're doing. Like, it was very hard to like get her to stray from that plan. Like, she's not interested in learning anything.
Which, once we get to the end, I wish I had a pen. I don't want to jump ahead to the, but I think the ending kind of explains her personality a little bit more, and I'll get to that.
Yeah.
I'm putting.
I think there's depth in the like. I think she's holding a lot of tension,
Yes,
and that's probably why she grips so tightly to a plan and to everything going the way she's planned, like wants it to go.
Because
and why she wants to put everything in the past. She doesn't want to think of any of that.
That's what I mean. I think the ending more explains her personality.
Yeah,
and I don't want to jump ahead to the end, because, you know, people watching this, spoiler alert, blah, 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 they've already played it, but I don't want to jump ahead in our conversation. But yeah, and I like how we see those separate lives, but like going forward, let's get to the boat real quick. And I want to get each of our perspectives on the gift that Tyler received from Allison, from Eddie. Right? Eddie was the police officer, and Eddie gives Tyler a ring, and I can't remember the people group.
It was very hard.
Tlingit.
Yeah.
Tlingit? Yeah.
I knew it began with a T, but it wasn't a T sound, and that's all.
And it's not Klingon. It's
no.
It's absolutely not.
Can you imagine Allison's like, you know what the Klingons think of that? Like, whoa. He's a Klingon? But that's the thing, is that there's not only going to be, and what I find interesting is that Donut is taking this setting of Alaska right into the story.
Well, yeah.
Because that's the thing. Usually you get a setting of a game and not really
the in-depth.
Yeah, not really the cultural aspects of that location go into play. Whereas I feel like not only the transgender community, that is going to be in play, but also the Alaskan culture.
Yeah,
it's going to
like
be
the tribes.
The tribes and everything are going to be in play. So we played ours, and did you accept the gift?
I was torn for a very long time, but I did in the end. Yes,
you did. Why?
Yes.
Why did you?
I went about it through like the lens of Tyler, who has a lot of built up resentment and blah blah blah, but also knows what it is to be a marginalized person and knows what it is to like have a specific culture and a specific part of yourself be extremely important to you, and like not wanting to disrespect that.
Yeah.
So there was some of that perspective and also some of the just like, I figure even after 10 years, it's your twin and you really want this relationship to come back together.
Yeah.
So that's a first step.
Okay. Yeah. Liz, did you accept the gift?
I did not, but I didn't like do it harshly. I didn't choose like the.
You didn't
really
throw
harsh.
it in the water.
Yeah, I did not throw it in the water. I was just like, I can't accept this right now. Like, and I did that because, and I was torn for a while too, for the same reason where it was like, you want your sister to be happy, but at the same time, I feel like his character for me just was giving off the vibe of like, he just wasn't ready to forgive Eddie for that yet.
Yeah.
And so like if the game lets me, I want to have him build that better relationship with Eddie along the line. But I just feel like right out the gate, he just wasn't ready to just say like, yep, all is forgiven, and just accept it.
Yeah, I like, Andrew, I like your answer a lot because Tyler knows about how to be a marginalized community and he can get that. But I also understand your perspective as well, Liz, where there's a lot of pain. There's a lot of resentment towards this one specific person. So we have two dividing sides here where are you part of a community, but are you also focusing on people as individuals and what kind of hate that can bring or what kind of resentment that can bring? If I was in
I will also say that I didn't like love Allison bringing that up.
Yeah,
like there was a twinge of me that was like, don't use his culture to force a reconciliation. You know what I mean? Like there was a little bit of me that was like, stop it.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. Allison was very strong in that way. Like, come on, like you have to accept it. And that's the thing. After 10 years, after 10 years, and he just got out of that place, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Like what you're saying, it's kind of bad timing. It's a little bad taste.
Yeah, like had she waited for later in the day, they had some conversation.
Or even met up with. And here's the other thing. Why did Eddie send it with Allison?
Yeah, that was the other thing. Like, why didn't he just wait and give it to him himself?
Yeah, he knew he was going to see Tyler.
Yeah, because he was coming back. I don't know.
All kinds of wrong.
Yeah. And I don't even think that was the writing's faults either. I wouldn't even blame it on the writing of the story. I would just blame it because there's people out there that do that. Like, oh yeah, can you give this to him? I don't know if I'll see him. I don't think that's really out of the realm of reality.
No, I have relatives that would do that.
Yeah, exactly. Like you have people.
I have relatives that would be like, take this. You have to take it. I apologize to you. Why are you still mad at me? Like I have a relative I'm specifically thinking of who would do exactly this.
Oh my God. Yeah. I can't even think of anybody that would do that, but that's because I cut those people off. But no, yeah, I thought that was an important scene just because we get to define what Tyler's forgiveness looks like.
Yeah.
Or even what his resentment will look like in the game. And I think that was really vital. And I feel like if I was in Tyler's shoes.
My God, sorry. A squirrel just jumped at my window and scared
what?
the crap out of me.
What the heck?
I'm not okay.
Oh no.
Oh, apparently I shouldn't. The culture is important. I'm sorry. I'm not. Everyone's angry.
He came all the way from Alaska just to jump at your window.
I've never seen a squirrel come up to. That was. I'm sorry. Okay, go ahead. We're podcasting. Great. Yep.
Continue.
We're all okay here.
I'm okay.
I feel Andrew's pain though.
I'm glad.
I'm feeling it through the Discord.
Gotcha.
But.
Anyways,
but I thought this was a fantastic scene just to set that up. I feel like if I was Tyler, I don't know. I feel like I would have accepted the ring out of guilt just to say it, but I don't think I would in my heart say, I would be like, sure, yeah, okay.
But that's the thing. The game wouldn't read it that way.
Yeah, no.
And that's why I chose the subtle no, not like I'm just going to toss it in the water.
Yeah.
But like, it was just like, not yet.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and that's really what he said. He said, I'm not ready right now. Like, it's just, this isn't not yet. So
I will just say that like that part of the boat scene wasn't even the most impactful for me. I was in love with the fact that you could just lean on the railing and like silently stand on the boat next to Allison, or you could just silently stand on the other side. Like, I have said this in so many places, but like art and media these days are so focused on giving us stimuli to keep us interested constantly.
Yes.
Like silence is a good thing sometimes.
Yeah.
And especially in this moment where it's like you've got these two twins who haven't seen each other in 10 years and they're trying to figure out how to be together again. And they both want to, but it's not going to be an instant like, oop, we're back.
Yeah.
So that silence is almost like a moment of processing, which is really cool that the game gives you that.
I like that.
And beautiful views.
Gorgeous views.
And that. The backgrounds in this game were stunning.
Yeah,
when I remember
when I moved to Alaska.
I remember when Tyler said in his facility, he was just saying like, I'm going to miss this view. I'm like,
you live in Alaska. What?
It's nothing but view. It's like, it's Alaska, dude. Because
that wasn't even the best view in the game.
Yeah, I've been
It's
to
true.
A puddle.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I've been to Juneau and Ketchikan, Alaska. I've been on the coast of Alaska, and it's nothing but views. I absolutely adore Alaska, but your boy has seasonal depression.
Yeah, every time we have anytime we're watching a show or movie or anything, and it's in Alaska, I'm like, we should move to Alaska. I'm like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's just like
you'll do great there.
Yeah, and but yeah, one of the things I do want to bring up, one thing about the gameplay. One simple thing. I like the shared memories in this, and this is another cultural thing within this game. So we have Alaskan culture, we have transgender culture, but then we have twin culture. And a lot of studies do say that twins share minds in very creepy ways. Like twins.
Yeah, like they can have the same like dreams and weird stuff. Feel each other's pain, like that.
I also really liked the memories. I thought it was like a cool way to just like be like, there's a deeper bond here. And it also establishes something of a world with like some supernatural elements. Like those were trickled in throughout. And that was one of the ways.
Yeah.
I don't know if I loved the voice though. Like telepathy for me was like maybe a little too much.
It was it's a little too supernatural.
Yeah, that's the thing. I feel like if the game didn't have the telepathy, I think it would have been just fine. If it had the memories, I would be like, oh, we can share memories. And that's a little bit more realistic because, you know, where you're starting to relive things.
Yeah.
The telepathy is where you start to get out of that.
Like in my mind, I'm like, okay, are we going the supernatural route and this is real?
Yeah.
Or is this not real and it's in their heads? Like I'm confused as to where.
And they're maybe more insane than Marianne.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I think that's just Don't Nod. Just like wanting some supernatural. They got the supernatural.
Like they don't know
it's like,
how
come
to
on,
not have it in there.
We gotta have some supernatural in here, dude. Like telepathy. Got it. Because twins. I still remember there was a Football Life, and it's on NFL Network. It's amazing stories. They're like mini documentaries of players' lives and how they grew up in life and how they got to the NFL. There was one in Football Life, and I can't remember who they were, but it was a set of twins, and they made it to the NFL. But they played with the same team every time. But then it got to a point in the story where one of them got traded. And
I'm going to say that's got to happen eventually.
Each of them faced like a severe depression because they were twins and like they
literally
felt like
had never been apart.
And this is the first time they were apart. They said that their wives used to say that like they were on the phone for 14 hours a day some days. Like they had to be together.
Yeah.
And I think
it can be a pretty intense connection. My mom was a twin.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and they grew up together, and they, you know, I mean, like my grandmother and grandfather had 5 kids and were not super well off, so they like made enough to support their children, but they certainly didn't go extravagant vacationing, and nobody was going to an out-of-state school or anything. So my mom like put herself through nursing school, and then her sister, my aunt, ended up deciding to join a convent and joined a convent in France, like became a nun in France.
Whoa.
And I remember my mom saying that like just that moment of her traveling across the sea was like, oof, you know, when the first separation.
Yeah.
Really.
And I like how we're diving in this story. We're diving into a lot of cultures. But it's a lot of cultures, but they fit within the realm of the story. And I like how it's not just thrown in there.
It's not like squeezed in. It's like it belongs there.
Yeah. These are twins. One of them is going through transition, or they're finally through transition. But like if we see the flashback scenes, and we're also going through the twins in Alaska. I forget if I said Alaska first or twins first, but I'm going to repeat it.
Yeah,
Alaska or twins, but they all fit within the realm of the story.
Yeah.
And I love that. And we even get in some religious aspects, which, again, I don't want to jump ahead. I think let's, since we're almost like halfway through, we're probably going to hit an hour and a half. Who knows?
Yeah, let's be real.
Yeah.
We don't want to cut it short and not talk about important stuff.
Exactly. But
jeez, I'm never going to bed tonight.
So yeah, let's just talk about Marianne for a second. And the very first thing that I wrote down is that the very first thing that we get to know about Marianne through the memories is that she always denied Tyler. Tyler always said that I felt like she always said no to me. And Allison said, well, she always said no to me too. But Tyler said that
it felt more personal.
Felt personal when it came to me.
Yeah.
Like saying no in that way, going to become a hockey player, cutting your hair short, all that. And talking about that, what did we think of Mary Ann as we first got introduced to her character?
I think there are some parts where, like, yes, in the scenes where she's saying no to Tyler, she sounds like a harsh parent. But then there were scenes and things where she seemed fine.
Yeah.
Like, she played with them in the store and she had her pet names for them and they seemed to have fun. But then it would seem like it would get to a point where she was done or she was just stressed out. Like, right now, it seems like she was an overworked parent at the end of her line, basically.
Yeah.
Like, she was just yelling at them because she was just so tired and couldn't deal.
Yeah. I'll get into the twist in a second.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about like very first impressions because when he said overworked, I was like, oh, I want to jump into that so bad. But very first impressions, we find out that Marianne was overworked and tired and just
and low on. They didn't have a lot of money.
Yeah, and it seemed like she was very aggressive towards her children. But Andrew, what were your first thoughts?
Yeah, I mean the initial because the initial perspective you get on Marianne is the children's perspective, the one that Allison and Tyler have been holding on to.
Yeah.
So your perspective of her being personal with Tyler is his perspective on her. That's what he felt. The perspective of her being kind of stringent, like she clearly was like very particular. She wanted organic things. She had like a lot of particularities that maybe were a bit of an inconvenience at time, but she was very stubborn about sticking to them.
Yes.
So you kind of get this like hard view of her at first. The twist obviously opens her up in a big way, but before that, when they first find the Book of Goblins,
yes.
Allison says she wrote it, but they talk about Marianne helped write a lot of the stories in there.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you guys read all of it.
I didn't.
I
have time.
did.
Oh.
Most people on the internet were like, I'm not reading. And I was like, fucking read, bitch.
Andrew, we're a clean podcast.
That was aggressive.
He's cut off.
Aggressive.
We're done.
I'm out. Fourth time is the last time.
You're about to get to the fifth time, SNL style, but you're over.
I'm so terrible. No, but I felt like very much like, I mean, it's up to the player whether they actually want to read or not, but it was included as lore in my mind.
Yeah.
I went to read it, but we just didn't have the time.
Was like, the idea that I went into it and I was like, okay, great. We've already got that the kids are the goblins. And so then every character that was introduced in the lore, I was trying to figure out who they were. Because I figured every single one of them was based on a real person, and Marianne was assigning these characters to people. I knew Marianne was the princess. I knew the children were the goblins. I figured out early on that Tessa was the pelican because it was like, who's bringing food all the time, blah, 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 blah.
And very pious.
Yeah. So there was a lot of like stuff like that where I was like, I'm going to read through this and try to tie some stuff together. And there were a lot of interesting things within those stories that, like, the whole backstory of the princess is that she ran away from something and she was being hunted and she ran away from a really bad situation that she would never talk about. So I think Marianne might have escaped an abusive relationship. You know what I mean? I think Marianne had, like, that was the first moment that I was like, something happened with her that has put her into whatever mental state she's in.
Yeah, and that's the thing. We don't really dive into, and I'm sure in later episodes we're going to find out more about Marianne. But from what we know now, and that's the thing. If you're listening to this and you haven't read that book yet, I'm planning on reading that book.
Yeah,
like many books on my shelf. But I think it's important because we're going to get to know the lore of the story, and we get to find out that she went through something abusive. Yeah, right.
And to point out something. We know nothing about the twins' father.
Well, that's what Andrew was trying to point out.
That. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. Like that'll maybe at one point in the story we'll get to know where he is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or it'll be like Life is Strange 2, and it'll be like, hey, Papa's home.
Oh, that would be great. Very soon.
The chapter 3 is just going to be one of the two twins will come on screen and just go, "Hey, the end."
Chapter 3, title: Papa's home. Wow. So, yeah, we get to see that she's been abusive. She's overworked. Very tired. Now, I want to go into the twist, but I also want to mend in because you already mentioned Tessa. The twist kind of relates to Tessa. So
very much.
Yeah, exactly. So the twist, I'm just going to say it. The twist, we finally get into Marianne's room because we've solved the riddle. All of us solved the riddle, but we did not go through Reddit. And
oh, I solved the riddle. So
so did we.
I read the stories and figured it out.
Yeah, we've solved it too. Yeah. You just read the story and you figure it out. But yeah, so then we get to find out in her room she has two things. One is a pamphlet for what we find to be a conversion therapy camp, but then also another book. And what Tyler said very well. A very rare find in 2005.
Yes.
How to Raise Your Transgender Child.
Yeah.
Which when Tyler said that, I was like, yeah, that had to be the hardest to find. Because right now in 2020.
Especially in Alaska.
That's true.
Oh, yeah.
In Alaska.
You got to think contextually about when she was getting that book.
Yeah, in 2005.
How much
we
that
didn't
was
have
not
Amazon back then.
No.
Yeah, we didn't even
did we?
I mean,
when did Amazon happen?
I don't think it was no.
It wasn't widespread.
It wasn't
They
widespread.
probably didn't go to Alaska.
I mean,
I still ordered things from Walmart and had it shipped to me.
Yeah.
Right.
Amazon wasn't my first choice.
Yeah, and that's the thing. So
I wonder if she got it from Books A Million or Walden Books or one of those bookstores that's closed now.
Stop. It's already a sad story.
Off track. We still have Books A Million out here.
Oh yeah, we do. But anyway, so we find this book, and that's the twist, is that while she was overworked and just stressed out, she was still open, and we started to find out where her stress came from was from Tessa. So that's why I want to kind of mend this twist with Tessa. So we first also get introduced to Tessa by going to the old grocery shop, which Michael was the Michael is amazing. I hope we get more of him.
You're talking about the friend, right?
Yeah.
Not the older guy.
No.
Okay, yeah.
No, not the older guy.
Yeah, Michael sounds fun.
I want more of Michael. More of Michael in 2020. We need that vibe. Thank you. Anyways, but we get to find Tessa in the grocery store, and we're trying to find out information. And within that information, we're starting to find this twist. So with you two, how did the twist and Tessa, kind of fit with you in your minds, I want to say?
What do you mean?
I don't know.
Then why'd you ask?
You're leading this discussion so well.
I know. I was trying to figure out how to put it to words.
What do you mean, how they mix? Because the only thing that they have in common is that we think Tessa gave her the pamphlet, but we don't know 100%
Well, here's the
sure.
thing. In your playthrough, you did not get the truth out of Tessa.
That was my fault.
You did.
I wasn't paying attention.
We're going to go to Andrew. Okay. We are live with Andrew on the scene. Andrew Orsie. He has found out the truth about Tessa.
Why don't you just let him?
We are live with Andrew. Andrew, would you like a report?
So Tessa is the one who gave her the pamphlet.
Gotcha.
Their argument that the two were remembering was over that. She gave Marianne the pamphlet. Marianne had exactly the opposite view and thought it was inappropriate and had an argument with Tessa as a result.
Gotcha.
So it was Tessa it does seem like when you get it out of her, you basically have to like get all the information and then just accuse her straight out with complete facts. You just have to be like, yeah, the conversion therapy camp. Yeah, Virtue Seekers youth camp. Now you remember which one. And finally Tessa's like, okay. But she, Tyler kind of confronts her and is like, do you know what they do to children in those camps? And she's like, well, I do now. But I wasn't sure how to take that, because if you hack into her computer, she still has an email from their mailing list.
We did see
like
that.
Right then. And so I was like, do you actually know what they do? I'm confused. So I'm not quite sure how to take Tessa right now. But I do know that Tessa also like helped Marianne out a lot. So I think that in many ways she is well-intentioned. She just has a very clearly different view on what being transgender is, and Marianne did not jive with her at all in that way. So
yeah. Now, I related somewhat to this scene just because when I was growing up, I was very aggressive. My father was, I shared on the podcast, an alcoholic, a drug user. And my mom was super stressed out because she took me to all these places that fed us. My mom worked 3 jobs at one point. And, she took us to these families, and I would overhear these like people saying like, you can't be taking him to his father anymore. What are you doing? You're not being the best parent, because my mom wanted me to come to my own conclusion about my dad. So I can't relate totally because I'm not in the same situation, but I know what it's like to be a kid and hear
someone talking to your parent that way,
saying that you're not raising him right. Whereas, now I have a gaming podcast, so just suck on that. Take that. I have a not so successful gaming podcast, but
it's successful.
It's getting there. We're shooting up. By the way, if you're a new listener,
welcome and thank you.
Please stick around. But that's my point, is that I've been in that situation. But I haven't been in my mom's situation. I haven't been in Marianne's situation, but I can feel for the kids in that light, because have seen people try to give my mom pamphlets and saying that Adam should go to
like how to raise you.
Now, in terms of conversion therapy, as once a youth pastor going to a church, and why I'm no longer a youth pastor anymore, you would not believe how many kids I would have to. They would come out to me and I would be like, I really, really want to tell the church this because this is dire. Some of them were suicidal, but I knew, like, as soon as I told somebody seriously, I know what happens in those camps. And I'm like, listen, dude, like, we got to, by the way, it will be a serious moment. I'm like, hey, bro, listen, let's talk, let's rap. But I would say, hey, man, listen, we've got to talk about this. I really want to be there for you. There was even a student who came out to me thinking about transgender. And I was just like, okay, listen, man, we really got to talk. I want to build up to this point where we can tell your parents, but if we tell your parents now, or if we tell the church this and they think that's, they'll send you off. Like, I don't think they'll immediately, and I don't think it's that extreme with all of my churches, but I'm scared of that. I'm scared of any kid going to these conversion therapy camps because these kids who go to these camps, it's not good. And I don't want to say it like that, like it's not good. It's just, it's awful. It's absolutely awful.
It's not good.
It's not good.
And if we're talking about conversion therapy camps specifically, it's not good. That I think is just kind of point blank. Just the stuff that they put kids through, the way that they treat them, the way that they teach, the type of self-talk that they teach is so demeaning.
Exactly.
It's not good.
I hate the slogan, pray the gay away. I hate that. I hate that so much. It's just one, prayer doesn't work like that. Thank you. 2, why are you making a slogan about prayer? It's not a little rhyme rap. I mean, let's keep this all, let's keep this holy and not being like, hey there, let's make a rhyme for it. Pray the gay away. I'm like, Are you not taking prayer seriously, guy? Anyways, that's not the point. But I've never had a friend who went to conversion therapy. I don't think you have. Andrew, have you experienced any friends who are going to this?
I think I know one person who did go to one. I know many that were threatened with one, but did not actually get sent.
Yeah.
Like there are several of my close friends who that happened with. And like I have the personal experience of coming out in a religious household. Like like blessedly, you know, my parents still accepted me, like they still loved me. There was never talk of sending me to a camp or anything. Thank goodness. But there was definitely like, I remember at one point, like my parents are strict Catholics, or my mom especially is, and she gave me, I think it was like a week after I came out to her, I was in the car with her and she handed me this letter and she was like, this was helping me. I think it might help you too. Read this. Yeah. And it was like a letter to Catholic parents of gay children. And I just remember reading the first paragraph and like bursting out sobbing and like throwing it to the floor. It did not help me.
Yeah.
And I also, it's one of those things where that's why the twist of Marianne trying to be supportive was really interesting for me.
Yeah.
Because like, obviously I have not had the coming out as trans experience, but I have had a coming out experience with a parent who maybe didn't know how to handle me coming out right away.
Yeah.
And I think like the interesting thing about quarantine is like I've been having so many conversations with her and we've gotten so much closer because I call her more often than ever because I'm lonely and depressed all the time. Yay. So we ended up actually getting into, we've had a lot of discussions of the subject of gay marriage, and that like we've gotten into a lot of political discussions I never thought I was going to have candidly with my mother. And that's been really wonderful because we actually have conversations. It's not like she will listen to me, we listen to each other, we like, you know, it's a loving sort of conversation as opposed to the hateful diatribe you get from the internet all the time nowadays. So while we don't have the same views on it, we ended up eventually circling around to talking about when I came out to her and me telling her that like how hard it was. Her reaction was like hit me pretty hard. And it was one of those things where she was like, I was not so much like disappointed in you. There was no part of me that was like angry at you or you know what I mean? She was like, all of my reaction was like being afraid for you and having to deal with things in the world and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, you know, I understand that. And I don't hold it against you. I think it's especially good if you're a parent. I almost want to say like, if you're any parent, like you need to read something on how to handle this process in society right now, in case it happens. Cause like that initial reaction, like for me saying the words, I'm gay to my mom, I was so vulnerable in that moment that like, my emotions were spiraling so far. I was a teenager. I like hormones, I'm sure were insane. And I was incredibly sensitive to everything that was happening. So any sort of like negativity in her reaction, I'm going to misinterpret as incredibly personal.
Yeah.
And I'm going to take that as her being disappointed in me, whether she's directly saying that or not. So it's not even so much a matter of like, it's the same kind of thing as like if a toddler, you know how if a toddler falls and scrapes their knee, and the first thing you do is laugh, sometimes they won't cry because they see your reaction and they respond to it. They're more sensitive to like the emotional reaction that you're handing them. It's almost that same sort of thing. Like you almost have to be aware of the emotional reaction you are handing to the vulnerable child. And then it makes me interested in the line from Tyler of when Marianne said no to me, it felt personal. Is I wonder if some of his emotional vulnerability in being a transgender child trying to come out to his mom, who he wasn't sure if he was going to be accepted by, made everything feel even more personal than she intended it. It's a very complex thing. And it made this so much more interesting once we got kind of this backstory and this, like her fighting with Tessa. She's got, you know, a close friend who is now handing her an opposite viewpoint that she doesn't agree with. And that's increasing her stress about this whole issue. So this blew up the complexity of Marianne for me really, really well. Like this was a huge depth of character.
Yeah, no. And that's the thing. I liked how in the very first chapter, we get this sort of huge character arc with Marianne. I like what you said, where we all share the story where in our perspectives, in our times where we're in this kind of struggle, especially as teenagers, right? We take things very personally, but in the background, there are parents are fighting the same kind of battle. It could be like Marianne's, who are just trying to support their children, but there's so many people around them just trying to judge them.
Yeah.
It's incredible. I always had the fear of, when I'm a youth pastor, what if my kid told me they're gay? Mm-hmm. For me, by the way, I always tell people this. I've gone through aggression, alcohol problems, like gang violence, right? I've had all this. I'm not saying this in a bad way, but I've had mostly kids come out to me, and it's just like, I love you. I can't relate to you because like I've never had this experience before. And a lot of kids, a lot more than the church wants to say, they had this struggle. That's suicide. Only a couple transgender in my viewpoint. And I had this kind of struggle that what if I'm a youth pastor and my kid came out to me? Immediately I would do the same thing as I did to these kids. Like, listen, I love you. You're still, you're still my boy. You're still my girl. What up? And we would just dap.
No.
And I would do that to my own kid. Like, we would dap, and then that's that. But my fear would be like, what is the entire church going to think that the youth pastor, I'm doing air quotes, audio listeners, can't control his kid?
Yeah.
That was my biggest fear. Because there was a possibility, and I would love that kid to death. Yeah. But then I would have a job that would have me under a fishbowl, just like Marianne with her pious friends, and I related a lot to that. I'm like, what if my kid? Because, and that's why I'm a little relieved that I'm not in church ministry. It's just because I get to handle it
how you want to handle it as a parent.
Right.
And not worry about your job being on the line for your kid being who they are.
I want to handle it as a father and as a man of God, but not under a fishbowl with a lot of pressure like Marianne with Tessa. Yeah.
Because you have to also keep in mind that she was probably scared that if she disagreed with Tessa, Tessa would stop helping her.
Exactly.
And you also have to remember, like, the other thing is, like, the children, like, especially by the time they're 12, especially by the time you're getting towards teenage years, the kids are going to be just as aware of that in a lot of ways as you are. Like, if the church you're a part of, or if the friends that you are keeping are part of a church that, like, isn't, like, for me, I knew how much the Catholic Church was not okay with me being gay. I denied it to myself for years. I went back into the closet several times. Like, I sort of half tried to come out one day, and then like was like, no, never mind. Bye. I'm going to spend 4 more years in here. And like, it was one of those things where like, I hated myself enough already because of like the church and society. Like, I had a lot of that. And that's why I say, like, it sucks that it then all falls to the parent to like overcompensate for society. But that's why as a parent, like, your first response to the child that's coming out is like, it needs to be positive. It needs to be expressing love. It needs to be expressing that this is a completely normal part of who they are. And you need to place yourself as someone that they can be open with about this, so that if society is hurting them in any way, they will come to you about it. And that's how you help them. You know what I mean? Like, these are very important things. And I don't know that every parent necessarily is able to know that, because many of them haven't lived that experience. And that's why representation is important. And that's why all these things are important, because the more these things get put into media, the more people will learn how to do this better.
It's educational,
Yep.
I passed this by, and I'm just going to make a very brief side note, but we get to meet Sam, and we have this great encounter with Tyler and Sam, where Sam says like, oh, I didn't know they could make a woman look so much like a man. And Tyler says, that's because I am a man, Sam. And I wanted to put my little note in there where he said like, well, it's just that, you're not like a real man, but like what I said before with Tyler, stepping up, taking responsibility, that marks true man in my mind. It doesn't matter how tough and brawny and how much bacon you consume, but it's how much responsibility you take up in life. And I think Tyler stood up for that. And where Sam's
glad that they gave you the response when like Sam is like, yeah, I just didn't think they could make like a woman look so much like a real man. And then Tyler can just be like, I am a man. Bye.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And
I saw that choice and I was like, this isn't a choice. I know which one I'm saying.
And I liked how Sam said, well, you know, you gotta, you know, let us old folks, you know, keep up with you. And Tyler's response, and again, this was a choice, but like this isn't a choice, where Tyler said, well, you know, or you could just respect people for the way they want to be called, man.
Yeah.
And that's just the thing. And I like
the thing. I understand that, like, and I've had this conversation with my mom and with other people, is like, I understand that maybe for your brain, processing some of it and understanding it is not going to come immediately.
Yeah.
Like, I get that. You grew up in a different world. These things didn't exist. You don't know them. You haven't had this experience. That is all fine and legitimate. But simply being asked to respect that this person now identifies as a different gender than they were born as, to like biologically born as, to respect someone's pronouns and to respect the name that they've chosen for themselves. Like, these aren't hard things to do. It's the same as like, if I were to tell you, I don't like the name Andrew, I prefer to go by Drew, you would just call me Drew. You know what I mean? It's a nickname. God,
yeah.
Like, it's just a matter of respecting what somebody wants to be called in life.
I get that all, and like going into names, you know, at work, you know, I meet a lot of people, like a lot of new employees, and you know, I'll meet a Mike or a Michael or any kind of that, and I would say like, oh man, like, what do you like to be called? You know, Mike or Michael? And he's like, oh, it doesn't matter. I would just say, it's your name, dude. Like, call what you want to be called, man. Maybe I won't remember it, but at least tell me, like, what do you want to be preferred to be called, you know? Just like that. It's just respecting what people want. It's your name. It's your personality. It's your identity, man. Just like, you know, call me.
Right. And then if you actually want to understand and you want that person to help you understand, then you actually just develop a relationship with them while respecting them. And then maybe once you know each other, you can talk about it and you can learn things. Like, wow, that's how communication works.
So, as I want to keep this as close to an hour as possible, I'm just going to jump ahead to the final twist here and why it explains Allison so much. So leading up to all of this, we're believing that Tyler murdered Marianne because in self-defense, because we see in a later scene that Marianne had a shotgun and seeming like
she was pointing it at Tyler.
Which I want to get to know more of, because she's like, oh, this is wrong, as she's chasing. I'm like, wait, Tyler,
this is wrong. I shouldn't be doing this, but I'm going to keep chasing my child with a shotgun.
Tyler, it doesn't look, it's not what it looks like. I'm just giving you gauges.
No.
Because it's a 12 gauge.
You're an idiot.
I'm sorry.
Bye.
You're uninvited from the next conversation.
No.
Liz and I are going to do the next Games and Groceries.
With Chris Thompson and Andrew Orsie. Where's Adam? He's gone.
He's gone forever. We don't know.
Anyways, so we think about this and we see that the scene go out, and we also learn later on that Tyler and Allison are connected by a lie. We see a memory, and Tyler's saying to, or at the time, Ollie, but young Tyler. So, I want to, go into that side note a little bit.
When they're at the police station before they get questioned.
Well, I was also going to say with the whole Tyler Ollie thing.
Okay.
We had a great conversation with Travis from, Rainbow Road Podcast about dead naming. And I feel like, and the game does touch on dead naming, where Aaron didn't call Tyler by Tyler. He wanted to call him Ollie. But would that be an issue in this time? Oh, what do you think that this game's going to go into that?
So what I understand, based on the things that I read pre this game and blah, 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 Ollie was not Tyler's given birth name.
Oh.
Ollie was the first boy name that he chose for himself.
Yeah,
really?
That's what I caught on to in the game too.
Okay.
And I didn't take it with the Aaron thing. I took that as like wanted to call him his birth name, because I don't think it said specifically Ollie. But no, as far as I understand it to be done, Tyler is not dead named at any point in this.
Okay.
Ollie is the original boy name that he took on. And then at some point in the process of transitioning and accepting himself, he decided to change to Tyler as his chosen name.
The way I took it from playing the game and just like picking up on things was that I think Ollie was kind of like a nickname off of his girl name.
Yeah.
I
thought it was possible, but like
I wasn't sure, like
confirmed.
maybe his name was Olivia or something, and that was like the nickname that they took on.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not sure, but I know that
I had
that
a thought
Ollie,
there too. But yeah,
but
I know
his birth
specifically I
certificate-
read stuff from like Don't Nod that confirmed that like Ollie is not a dead name for Tyler.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and I think that Don't Nod would respect that. And I wonder how they're going to handle it with other chapters. But that was a little side note I wanted to go into because it's not necessarily a point in this chapter, but it might be in later chapters that we get to talk to without Andrew Orsie. But
why'd you make that sound like that was like the best option to talk about this without
That we get to
Andrew?
talk to without this loser.
because he's been on 4 times, we've had enough of Andrew.
No, he's been on 4 times because clearly we haven't.
So let's get into the big twist with our guest, Andrew Orsie.
There you go.
But we get to see that the lie that they were going through was that Allison was the one that killed Marianne.
Yeah.
She stabbed her protecting Tyler, and Tyler said,
Yes.
listen, I killed her. You get to live your life. I'm gonna go through this. And I think that's like what we said in the beginning was that this end explained Allison how she had all this tension because she hasn't come clean. But Tyler, I feel like living his life. He's like saying like, I know I didn't, but you know, I've spent my time, I've done it, but Allison is just still living with this.
And she wants to, that's why she wants to get rid of the house. She wants to get rid of the memories. She wants it to be done. She wants it in the past and to never have to think
and she's
about
on
it
like
again.
a beeline, like I need this out because she's been living this for 10 years.
Now, can I go into my theory?
Go ahead.
Thank you. So, this child...
we won't let Andrew. Just
No,
like
I
you-
love it. Please theorize.
So, one, Allison just stabbed their mom in the back and she fell into the lake.
Yeah.
You don't see the mom actually die. They haven't talked about a funeral. They haven't talked about anything like that. And just a stab in a random spot in the back isn't typically always going to kill someone.
Mama
Especially have to think of the height of a 12-year-old, of where she was on her mom.
Got her butt.
Well, I wasn't going to say that, but it didn't even look like it was like in her spine. Like it didn't look like it could have been it could have not been in a vital place. So like in my idea, I think the ending of this game is going to be the mom is still alive.
Yeah.
That is my theory, and I'll leave it there.
Yeah, we predicted it in Life is Strange too. A lot. It was very predictable, but
well, it's easy in Life is Strange too because their mom. We already knew the mom was still alive.
Well, here's the thing, and we'll get into the ending real quick. But in terms of your theory, I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing if they write that in because
No, I don't think so.
Because even if she's alive, I don't think I would be disappointed in a way of like, oh man, that was so predictable. But it's good because then there is closure.
Yeah, exactly. They can get closure. Allison will calm down.
Andrew, you seem to be deep in thought. What are your thoughts going?
Well, I don't know. That definitely isn't one that occurred to me, and I'm trying to like kind of place it as to how I would feel about that as a narrative choice. I don't want this to come across as like, well, I'm so good at predicting narratives, but like literally we walked into the house before like anything was discovered, and I was like, Allison killed her. Like my brain went, Allison probably killed her, and so Tyler.
Dang.
I just somehow got that very early. I don't know if it was because I read all the tension in Allison. I don't know, but I so like the last scene ended up not having the impact it had on me that it did for like so many of the other people that I saw talking about it online, because I was like, oh, oops, I spoiled it for myself. Like I ruined it by guessing.
I kind of saw it coming towards the end of the scene when young Tyler was clearly cornered on the dock. I'm like, where is he getting something to stab her with? I'm so confused.
I wasn't really impacted, but yeah.
Yeah, I will say that like in the lore of the book, and like here's the thing, I wish people reading the book, because the lore in this book is so much more interesting for me. It adds so much more possibility to this. I don't know. It was one of the most interesting parts of the game for me, even though it's like a lot of pages and a lot of stories.
Yeah.
They were all very cute. They were all kind of this whimsical fairy tale world. You know me, I love world building. It's my favorite thing. So
Yeah.
So, and I managed to place like several characters, like Tessa was the pelican, Marianne was the princess, the children were the goblins, Sam, I believe, is the old bear. Eddie, I thought for a while Eddie was the moose, but you find the Ice King collectible in the sheriff's office. So he might be the Ice King. I'm unsure. Because it did seem like you found the pelican in Tessa's office and you found the princess in Marianne's room. And so it's like, that's why I'm kind of like, maybe.
Yeah.
But there is a character in the book who I haven't been able to place who it might be in real life called the Moon Hag, who is basically like a witch who is stuck in the form of an old seal who lives at the bottom of the ice lake.
Yeah.
And will lure people into the lake and drag their corpses down into the lake. So the fact that Marianne fell into the lake made me immediately think to the Moon Hag. I don't know what it would have to do with anything, but it was an interesting thought because the Mad Hunter appears in the last couple scenes.
I was going to say
that thing was creepy.
I did not write this in my notes. What the heck was that?
That smile. The second it's on, I'm like, that's gonna haunt me tonight.
Yeah, I was like,
well, the Mad Hunter is in the story is the one pursuing the princess from the life that she fled. So I don't know what the whole deal is with it, because like that looks like to me like a supernatural kind of creature.
Yeah, that didn't look human.
When we first saw it in the,
that's where I'm suddenly like, ooh, if the Mad Hunter doesn't look human and could be a supernatural presence, maybe the Moon Hag is also a supernatural presence in the lake, because Allison and Tyler said that they got in trouble the one time that they tried to cross the lake. And there was something there where I was like, I wonder if something's weird about this lake.
Oh my God, yeah. No,
that's why I'm interested. That's why I'm so interested in the storybook part, because I feel like it's going to play into a lot of things.
Yeah. Another part of my theory with the mom still being alive is that everyone in the town seems to be hiding something from the twins.
Yeah, like
about
don't
that
live
night.
old
Like
real memories.
Yeah, like they want them to forget it. They want them to get over it. Like they all kind of know something. Like the whole town kind of planned Marianne's fake death, or they all knew she didn't die, but they all agreed it was better for the kids if they didn't know.
Yeah. No, yeah.
That's the end.
I think there's going to be a lot of world building. I definitely want to revisit the game and read that whole storybook, because I think it is important. I think that's, you know, the developers specifically put these lore in.
Yeah.
Whether or not you want to read it or not.
So much reading. That's my only problem with it. I read too slow.
Yes.
It would take me the whole 2 hours just to get through that.
Yeah. But that's the thing. I think they set it up to be more storybook-like and easier to read, just because I feel like parables, stories are more in tune with us than actual just listing out what happened, or like finding out Marianne's journal and then we just read about her past. Now this is the whole storybook that we can read.
So it's more of a metaphorical journal, which is a cooler way to find things out. And I will say, like, because it is like, it's like 4-page little storybook fable kind of things. It's a little more digestible in that way. So even if Liz, you could just do like 2 at a time. Yeah. You know what I mean? You don't have to then sit there and just plow through it. I mean, I did, but I'm crazy.
Oh, Floki got out of his chair.
Nap time's over.
Nap time's over for Floki. Yeah, no, I think this is going to go into some deep lore. I wonder if the Mad Hunter, am I right? The Mad Hunter?
Yeah.
I wonder if the Mad Hunter will have anything to do with like her abusive husband. I wonder why we saw it in the sheriff's office, because that scared me the most. Not the smile, but like just seeing it in the corner,
like
just
all
like
of a sudden, I was like, "Oh, hello!" You didn't even see it at first. I was like, "Oh, hello," and you're like, "What?" And you're like, "What the heck is that?"
Yeah, that
like, what is that?
That freaked me out the most, more than the smile. I was
smile freaked me out. That was weird.
Mm-hmm. And I think that we're going to see this in a very don't nod fashion, where it's very supernatural, much like Life is Strange picked up on social issues, but with a supernatural kind of light. Yeah. Same thing with, Life is Strange 2, of course. And I think we're going to see a lot come out of this. Yeah. I think we can wrap it up there, but I think we're going to go into closing thoughts. Briefly, what did we think about the whole episode? Did we miss anything? I'll start no, I'm just kidding. Andrew, why don't you start us off? Any closing thoughts? Anything we missed, or like overall perspectives of the episode?
I don't think we missed anything like major that I was like, yeah, that's something that needs to be talked about. I think we hit kind of the big things there. Like I definitely saw I got all 10 achievements for this portion. I got all the collectibles. Like I definitely made sure to see everything that was in there. I'm very intrigued. Like I said, I like the little fairy tale world. I like that the lore seems to be tying into the real world, and that puzzling that out is a more engaging way to watch the narrative happen. Because like I do think narratives are hard when they're this kind of thing where it's like everything that we're finding out is not happening right now. We're finding out about an event that already happened, that has already, you know, technically the characters in the story like know about it. You know what I mean? They may not know all the details, but they know it exists.
Yeah.
So that can be a harder narrative to tell. And I do think that like having that extra lore to give me extra things to think through is an interesting way to approach the narrative. However, I also know that lore is locked behind a lot of reading that most gamers don't necessarily want to do. So I don't know if maybe that's quite the placement that would be successful for everyone. But for me, it works. I'm very intrigued. I love Tyler as a character. I love that they've worked with Transactivists on this and made sure that they're, you know, representing him well. And like that, like I said, that we are seeing some of the pain and trauma that transgender people deal with, but we're also seeing Tyler, a very confident trans person who has worked on his mental health. And like, that's, I appreciate that. I'm really glad to have a well-represented trans character in the gaming world. This is my slogan of 2020, is advocating for better representation in gaming. And I am excited to play the next part and see what happens. My only worry is that we only have 3 episodes and I don't want any of this to be rushed.
Well, that's my one. I thought that too. And I think they put on an extra hour than they usually do, because Life is Strange episodes are usually 2 hours long. And this is like 3 to 4 hours long.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's going to be rushed because they're putting on extra time on each chapter.
Yeah.
So it might, I like what they're doing here. They might be doing, you know, an act 1, act 2, act 3 kind of situation rather than a whole episode in the series, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
I also hope that choices get a little bit more impactful.
Yeah.
I don't agree.
They were only like a couple impactful.
Yeah. So like, because it like went through stuff at the end, and when there were things like Tyler made Sam respect him, and I was like, I didn't even know I was really making a choice that was going to be addressed at the end right there. I thought I was just telling him I was a man. Like, I don't know.
I'm playing this straight out of I finally played The Walking Dead the final season, and those choices were super impactful. So coming straight off of that into this, I agree with you. Whereas the choices weren't as impactful. But I don't know. I feel like Life is Strange even didn't have very impactful in terms of other games that have a lot of choice. I think there were some, especially in
I feel like Life is Strange 2, the choices were more impactful than the first season.
I think so, yeah.
Because it impacted how your brother grew up.
Yeah. But I agree with you that I hope that there's
same.
more impactful choices. Liz, any concluding thoughts? Anything you want to talk about? Overall thoughts?
I am also very excited to play the next episode. I'm really glad that they're like only a week apart and not months. Because one, it'll still be fresh in my mind, and 2, I don't have to wait.
Yeah.
So there's that. But I'm really excited. I can't wait to see where the story goes, especially after learning like lore from Andrew today, because I didn't read the book because we didn't have time. But after learning that, like, I'm really interested in learning what's going on with Marianne, how everything comes together, what everyone is hiding from the twins, and I'm excited to know more about the story and be depressed because I have a feeling it's going to come eventually.
I also have a theory that Alexander, the like random conservative guy you can have a conversation with on the boat, is going to be in the story somehow.
Yeah.
Liz chose not to say the last name. She just said, "Just call me Tyler." She didn't say.
I also did that.
Yeah.
I feel like since that was an option, I feel like maybe
If you say Ronan.
Like someone would know the family and then he'd ask questions about who he is because they knew that they had twin girls. And I was like, all right, maybe this is
like a small town, so everybody probably knows each other.
So I'm like, all right, so this might be a secretive thing. We'll just go with Tyler.
Yeah.
Yep, that's what I did too.
Yeah.
I'm very excited to be involved with this because, again, as I was in youth ministry, I mostly had experiences with LGBT. Oh man, I got to the T. Not the T. Minus the T. like a BLT, just leave out the T. Just BL.
No.
No.
So wrong.
Oh no.
No. Bad Adam.
Which, little side note, at the restaurant, I had two older couples, right? Two old ladies. They come in. They said,
Honey, this is so not on topic.
It is?
No, it's not.
They said, can we get bacon sandwiches? I was like, sure. And they said, could you also add lettuce and tomato? I said, you want a BLT? And they said, is that what it is? I'm like, yes, that's what it be.
Anyway, what are your final concluding thoughts?
I think maybe Liz should lead the next round table.
We'll talk less about getting gauges with a gun and sandwiches.
Listen, that's all that's on my mind. Gauges and sandwiches. But because I've had a good amount of experience with the homosexual community, because they were in the church, they always came out, but I never had a true to life real experience with that, because I feel like it's being newly accepted into the platform, because what Tyler said, that this book was very rarely found in 2005. 2020, you can find it pretty much anywhere, I assume. But now we're starting to really see this, and I'm excited to actually have a playable character, and we get to go through, his struggles, his pains, right? In almost like a first-hand experience, as much as you can get, because like what you said, Donut worked with transactivist communities. And they actually took advice. So I'm excited to learn more about this community. I'm excited to learn more about the struggles, because in life, I just want to be compassionate towards people, and I want to learn more, and I want to make sure that everybody's loved in the same way. And I love how this game will be as entertaining as it is educational for me.
And I think that's why it's important that he is like one of the main playable characters and not just a side character, because you learn so much more. The playable character is the one you actually get the perspective of. You know? And I will say, like, obviously I am a gay man and not a trans man, but like, this is one of the closest things of having a playable protagonist for me that feels almost like representation of me, and it's very exciting. Like, I actually get a little bit bitter when I have to play Allison. I'm like, no, I want to be Tyler.
Same, actually. I don't really enjoy playing Allison. I'm like, I don't want to deal with her.
Well, like, I think
Go away.
I think Allison's going to play a major role, just because I feel like she's being left behind. Because Tyler's doing so well, because Tyler had closure with this, and because Tyler and everybody else,
everyone else has moved on. But
Allison doesn't know what she wants in life. She's still living
I'm
with
also
the skill.
suspicious that Allison is involved with Michael.
Oh.
I have that suspicion.
Well,
that's okay, because I want more of Michael. Michael for president 2020. I want chefs in presidents. But anyways, Green Party. Anyways, no, Wombat already changed my mind anyways. But I'm excited for this game. I'm excited for the story arc. I'm excited to learn more about this Mad Hunter character and what this has to do with everything. I'm excited to learn more about Marianne and her struggle. Because we only got to know a little bit. And that was a huge story arc. And we still have 2 episodes left. I
got the sense that, like, when Marianne was brandishing the gun towards the dock, that there was someone like behind Tyler. And that's what I'm wondering is, like, was the moon hag from the lake behind Tyler? You know what I mean? Like, I think there is a detail to that scene that is currently cropped out of the frame we're getting.
Yeah, because it was angled in such a way where we don't get to
And she looks like intensely afraid.
Of a little child.
Right.
Begging, please, no shoot. But
all right, it's time for you to sign off.
But I am very excited for this game. And, I planned this whole roundtable out well before this game was actually released.
Mm-hmm.
And, I was trying to tell people, I think this is going to be a conversation worth having. And I was willing to bet on booking guests for this. And so far from this chapter 1, I feel like I was right that this game is going to be going into some deep social and cultural issues that we can discuss on this. So I'm glad Don't Nod didn't hold back on that with both the transgender community, the Alaskan community, as well as the twins community, I guess. I don't know, but the mindset of that.
Yeah.
But I'm very glad that we're having this roundtable discussion. And we'll be continuing next week with Chris Thompson, who is the brand manager behind Hero Collector, formerly of Titan Comics. So very stoked for that. I'm stoked for Andrew that he came on the show. What's up? And stoked for the 5th time he's going to be coming on the show, as well as the 10th and 20th time, where he'll eventually be the 3rd co-host of Games and Groceries eventually. But he's just worming his way in. Like, come on, guys, just
that's what I do.
Just the 30th time. Come on now.
Just one more. I'm just gonna slide into your DMs constantly. just one more, guys. I'll do the Mad Hunter smile. I'll just come in.
I think that's a good way to end this conversation. Yeah. Andrew, again, thank you for coming on. Thank you for sharing your perspectives with us.
Thanks for having me.
Honestly, always. And I say that with sincere heart. But anything we should plug? You last time you were on the show, a couple episodes ago, you said you're on a cappella group. Is there anything new that's come up?
Yeah, we released, I think 2 more videos since then, one of which I have a casual solo on, whatever. But in the next couple weeks, we should be releasing a Fleetwood Mac cover that I'm super excited about.
Nice.
So, check it out. It's Black to Gold Music on Instagram. And I think that's also our handle on TikTok. If you're on TikTok, I'm not on TikTok, so I don't know what our handle is. And then it's just Black to Gold on YouTube. So you can check us out, and we're also on Facebook, and we're gonna be releasing a lot of stuff and doing stuff. We got a new member, so we're actually have a rounded out roster of voices, which is awesome.
Nice. Cool. And anything else you want to plug? Have you been involved with any kind of charities or?
Not recently. If you support the general concepts. I mean, like I said, for me, I'll just say, if you support the general concepts behind, Black Lives Matter, there's a lot of charities across the internet that you can give to that are either geared towards, if you want to help on the political side of things, there are those, but there are also a lot of there are mutual aid groups, and there are things that you can help to that are just geared towards helping people. So if you have money to be giving right now, there's a lot of people who can use it. And specifically, since we're talking about this game, trans charities would be a great thing. There are lots of things where you can give for the Black trans community, or just the trans community in general. The Trevor Project is always great in terms of helping with they help counter youth suicide in the LGBT community. There's lots of them. So yes, give money if you have it. If not, just support people and love them.
And I like that. Just give support, give love. That's it. Just respect people, man. All right, I think this is a good time. But again, Andrew, thank you for coming on the show. Thank you for discussing this and sharing your personal perspectives. That's a hard thing to do on a gaming podcast, of any podcast. But so I'll have those links down below in the description, whether you're listening on audio or you're on YouTube. Thanks for listening along, and I hope you're enjoying this game as much as we are. Again, we're going to be doing 2 more of these as each episode comes out, and we might have I won't say it, but
stop spoiling your own surprises.
We might have a bonus episode. Anyways,
Adam.
Sorry. Thank you for coming on to this one, and again, love each other. As Ellen DeGeneres once said, be kind, but reports are coming out.
Maybe we just don't bring that up.
maybe not. I think that can be a quote from someone else.
I'm stealing that from Ellen. Give me that. Be kind. That's mine now. Me.
Well,
Adam.
Julie Chen said it last night on Big Brother.
Dang it, Julie Chen. My worst enemy. But be nice to each other.
There you go.
Thank you again for listening to this week's Games Groceries roundtable on the Tell Me Why game, brought to you by Don't Not Entertainment. And we hope to find you in the next roundtable discussion where we will have Chris Thompson, as I said before. Until then, have a good one. Be kind, wear your mask, and have a good week.
Bye.